Okay, so you should be able to see everything and we should be good to go. So welcome. So this is, we're going to be talking about the Universal Scholarship Program through Legacy Foundation. Sorry, let me start the slideshow. There we go. So as I had mentioned, my name is Jodi Kateiva. I'm the scholarship administrator here with Legacy. I've been here now almost 7 years. And so I encourage you, if throughout this process, if you have questions, concerns, you are welcome to email me or call the office so I can help you kind of work through anything that pops up. So before we talk a little bit about the scholarship application, I want to give you just a very brief kind of overview of what Legacy does in case you're not familiar with us. We are the community foundation that serves Lake County, Indiana. And so we do several things. We offer scholarship to students. This on our screen, it says Lake County, but we actually offer scholarships beyond Lake County to Northwest Indiana and some other regions in Indiana as well. We also serve as a mentor and a resource center. So we work with nonprofits and we try and help them elevate their service so that they can do the best for their community. And so we do that by offering courses for them free of charge, or we work with them on perhaps building board membership, budgeting, things like that. We, in the middle here, we assist donors with how to invest and manage their charitable assets. And basically what that looks like for you as students and scholarship applicants is that donors come to us, they say that they really want to start a scholarship. And so we work with them to create a scholarship that meets their needs and also helps support the students in our area. And we also help them outside of scholarships. There's lots of different kinds of funds that they can set up through Legacy. We work with local leaders and community leaders to help solve problems and enhance the quality of life. And finally, we provide grants to organizations servicing the Lake County community. So the nonprofits that I spoke about earlier, we offer a grant program throughout the year to offer them dollars as well. So overall, that's what Legacy Foundation does for the community. So Legacy Foundation scholarships. So for the universal application, as I mentioned, we are here to support Northwest Indiana or Lake County students. The scholarship application is open to high school seniors and current college students. There's a vast criteria for the different scholarships. And so if you go to our scholarship information booklet, which is located online on our website, then you can go through and look at each of the specific scholarships and what their eligibility criteria is. Last year, we awarded over $1.2 million. Again, we have a universal application. So we have one application that allows you to apply for over 40 different scholarships that are part of our program. And finally, so our awards are paid to the school. They cover tuition, other expenses, room and board, or students can use those as book reimbursement. We do not pay awards to students as checks or cash. They have to go to the institution or be used for book reimbursement. And so our scholarship program, the application opened November 1st, so it's open now. The deadline is February 1st, and we'll talk about this a little later. We have a third-party request portion of the application, and those third-party requests are due February 15th. And the award notification is by May 1st. So we try and let students know before May if they've won an award, but we will definitely let you know by May 1st. And I see something in the chat, so I'm going to open up. Oh, that's Miranda. Hi, Miranda. Okay. Okay, how it works. So the universal application allows you to apply for multiple scholarships through one application. And so based on the answers that you provide, the system automatically determines what scholarships you're eligible for. So for example, within those 40 scholarships that are available, once you plug in your data, it might tell you that you're eligible for 8 or 7 or 10. And so that's, I think, really the great thing about having a universal application is that you don't have to then search out and apply to those scholarships individually. So once you submit your universal application, you're gonna have to go back in, and there will likely be supplemental questions for some of the different scholarships that you qualify for. So, and we're going to talk about this more in depth once we kind of get into the presentation, but there are essay questions that almost all of our scholarships require. It's a set group of essays, but beyond that, there may be other specific essay questions or scholarship questions that you'll be asked. And so when we get to that slide, it's important that you know the difference, that once you submit the universal application, there are next steps to get you to apply for every single individual opportunity that you are eligible for. So don't forget that part. And then as it says, so on slide 30, it's going to go over what that's going to look like for you once you're in the system. And by the way, if you've got questions as we're going, just type them in the chat and Miranda will give me a shout out and let me know. So this is I found her today. I'm calling her our universal application. And so I like this graphic because it kind of demonstrates how it works. So once you submit the universal application, it will basically then spread out that information into all the different scholarships that you're eligible for. So say you're eligible for these 5 scholarships. Each unique scholarship might have different information required. So as I mentioned, there's a group of general essays that a lot of the scholarships ask for. They're the same essays. Once you put them in once, you don't have to re-enter them. I'm going to repeat that probably several times throughout this presentation because I think it's really important. They may ask you other additional questions. There may be a unique essay that is specific to that particular scholarship. There may be some employer or membership questions. We have a number of scholarships that are for, students whose parents work or are members of certain associations. So they may ask you specific questions about that. Or you may not have any general essays like scholarship E, you might just have one unique essay. So once you submit the main application, it will tell you what you need for any additional applications or, scholarships that you want to finalize your application for. And so how do you apply? The application is online. You can go to our website. If you click right under scholarships, apply for scholarships, it will take you to this page and it will say begin your application. So just press that button. And then this is what it's going to look like for you. This is our login page. And so we use Found It as our scholarship management platform. So if you have not applied for a scholarship with us before, you will need to create a new account. If you applied for the Lilly Scholarship, either this year or last year, or if you did the universal application last year, we ask that you use your existing account. And so if you can't remember what the password is, you can always select the forgot your password and they'll let you know what it is. If you do that and, for some reason you're not able to log in, you can always email me and I can go ahead and reset the password for you as well. Also, we ask that you please do not use a high school issued email account. I know that a lot of you that registered today used school accounts, but for us, I am not always able to email back to those school accounts. So it's really important for you to use your personal email. And so if you don't have one, I think that this is a perfect opportunity to take the time to create an email. Something I like to tell students is sometimes it's nice to create a brand new email just for these types of things. So not the same email that you're going to use for other marketing things, or if you want to sign up for other stuff, but create an email that's specifically for employment, scholarship, colleges, kind of the three big things. And that way it will make sure that you don't get a lot of junk and spam in that one account. It kind of keeps it separate. So I think that's a really good tip. But please don't use your high school through this, because we do a lot of communication via email. And if it's getting blocked or bounced back, then it makes communicating with the students really difficult. So creating your profile. So once you start, it's going to ask you a number of questions. So we ask that you please fill this out. I ask that you really try and make sure that you do this with everything being spelled correctly and capitalized correctly. So this is where the application pulls your name, it pulls all of your information. This is going to follow you through our entire process. So make sure that you have everything written down correctly. And we also ask, scholarship applications are for students. So it's really important that the students are completing this and not the parents. And we also ask, again, to make sure that your profile is updated. So if you move, if you get a new phone number or a new email, please make sure that you're updating this. This is the only way that I know how to contact with you. So if I've got questions about your application, say you win an award, if we can't get in touch with you, that makes it really challenging. So make sure that you change anything that you need to, as even after you submit. So, if you end up moving in March, try and mentally remind to kind of go back and fix anything in here so that we're not trying to get a hold of you through old information. So how do you apply? Once you create your account, this is the screen that's going to show, and it's not always so user friendly. So that's why I kind of have this in here for you. So you have to click to that very top where it says apply right next to Legacy Foundation at the very top of the page. That will bring you to a screen that shows you the Legacy Universal Scholarship application with the apply button. And so once you're in, this is generally what it's going to look like for you. So you can expand and close each of the sections to make them more manageable, because I know it can feel a little overwhelming. So I suggest you kind of keep one open at a time, and then you can close the rest of the sections so that you don't feel like you're inundated with a whole bunch of questions. And at the top right, there's the question list. So if you wanted, you could certainly download that application if you want a paper copy, or if you just want to see kind of what it looks like in totality before you get started. So what are we going to ask you? We're going to ask demographic information. We're going to ask scholastic information, so your grades. We do have an opportunity for you to upload your ACT or SAT scores if you are a high school senior. We want to know your major or your minor. I see that that's misspelled, so I'll have to go back and fix that. We want to know your college choice. So that's either the colleges that you're applying to, the one that you've already signed off to go to, or if you're a current college student where you're actively attending school. We're going to want to know about extracurricular activities. So these are school affiliated activities, volunteer activities. So that's perhaps volunteerism with your church or maybe a political group that you work with. If there's a nonprofit that you volunteer for, anything like that would fall under this volunteer activities. We're going to ask about your employment history. There's the essay portion. There's recommendation contacts. And then at the bottom, there's special criteria scholarship questions. So you'll notice once you're in the application that there is a series of yes, no questions. And so this really is important because it helps the system sort you into the correct scholarships. So although it might look strange to have 15 yes or no questions, it's important that you answer them correctly because it's internally directing your application to the right buckets, so to speak. And so some of those questions are, again, maybe they want to know something specific about your major. For example, we have a scholarship for people that want to teach music. So it's a really specific scholarship. So the easiest way for us to get that information is to simply ask, is this you? Yes or no? We've got employer membership questions, and then we have some scholarships that are geared towards an intended or current college or a college location. So for example, some you have to attend school in Lake County for college. And so again, these are all these questions are there to kind of help us figure out where exactly your application is going to fall and what eligibility criteria you meet. Do we have any questions, Miranda?
We do have one question from Micah. Okay. They are asking that they are homeschooled, so if they could include extracurricular activities that are not through a school.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be absolutely fine. And also, and even on the application, I'm glad that you brought that up. For example, if you're on a sports team, that's like a club or a travel ball team, you can also put those as well. So yeah, no problem at all.
That was the only question so far.
Okay. So student information.
Wait, hold on. I have one more question.
Sure.
Okay, for the recommendation profiles, do they need to be available to be contacted, or are these letters of recommendation that will need to be uploaded?
I am going to go into that in great detail, but not right this moment, but because I have a couple slides about it. So I will cover that.
That's it.
Okay. Okay, so student information. So we do ask some identifying questions. The reviewers are not made or do not have access to what you put down. We really do that just for our purposes because we want to make sure that we're reaching a diverse community of students that are reflective of the area that we live in. And so this helps us on the back end just to make sure that we're connecting with the right students, the right schools, and things like that. For the gender question, I will say, because it kind of says, please note that some scholarships are intended for individuals with a certain gender. So we do have one scholarship that is specifically for males that want to go into education or nursing. And so it's important if you are a male and you want to be and you meet the criteria for that scholarship, you would need to make sure that you put down male. So if you put, prefer to not answer, then you're not going to get pulled into that bucket when we're reviewing. So just kind of as an FYI for everyone. And then we do ask, is English your second language? This helps us in particular with the, the review committee as they're reading your essays and things like that. And then we also ask if you have an IEP or a 504 plan, anything that you can share about yourself that helps the review committee get to know you, I think is really great. We look at lots of different applications. So for our perspective, we're really just trying to get to know the students. And so anything that you can put on your application that helps us know you better, that's really important. So student type. So the application in the very beginning, it's going to ask you what your student type is. And so that's, are you a current college student? Are you a high school senior? So it's important that you answer those. I would say more when in the beginning, when you first get started, because the application self-populates different sections. So the sections for a high school senior and a current college student look differently within the application. So it's important to select that kind of early if you want a full scope of what you're gonna, what the application looks like. And then also for those of you that are seniors, even if you're taking dual credit courses, or even if you're gonna graduate your undergraduate or your, excuse me, if you're gonna graduate your high school year with an associate's, we still want you to select high school student, because the way our scholarships work is as long as you're currently enrolled in a high school, then that's going to be the scholarship that you qualify for. So make sure you put that down. So general information. So this is straight from the application. So you can see all of this here. We have a link to our scholarship information booklet, which, I've mentioned before, that gives all of the information about the awards. We also have a video tutorial on how to use the platform. So that's made by Found It, who is the platform that we utilize. And so they have their own user video tutorial. So if you've got questions, you can certainly review what they have there. It's very helpful. And then there's just some notes also, again, about the scholarships. So we pay them to the schools. We can use them for room and board as long as it's paid to the school. So we cannot pay room and board if it doesn't go through your bursar office. So for example, we wouldn't be able to pay rent for you. But if you were living on campus and paying through the school, then we would be able to pay for it. You can use the awards for book reimbursement, which is where you purchase the book and then you get reimbursed for the cost. So for all of these scholarships, you really have to be a full-time student unless the individual scholarship requirements say that part-time is okay. But I would say most of them require you to attend full-time. And our scholarship awards don't cover graduate school unless they're stated in the scholarship booklet. And the awards are paid towards fall 2023 and spring 2024. So if you're a current college student right now and you're graduating in June, then unfortunately this application wouldn't help you out. We can only pay towards fall of 2023. And so again, I recommend everyone look at the scholarship booklet just to make sure that you're eligible for at least one or two scholarships. I find most students are eligible for at least a couple, but it's definitely a good idea to check it out and make sure. So on to financial information. So we do look at finances. I would say that all of our scholarships look at finances a little bit differently. We have review teams and kind of scorecards for each of them. It's not to say that they're all necessarily need-based. That's not the case, but we do like to look at a holistic look at a student. We want to see what the AGI is for your family. And so we ask that you put that in. So you will have to talk to your parents or your guardian to see what that looks like for you. I ask that so this should not be zero, because the family generally receives some kind of income throughout the year. So it may be state or federal assistance, it might be disability or Social Security. And I recognize that those items are not taxable, but we still want to get a sense of what the finances look like for the family. We're also going to ask the number of people in your household as part of your taxes. And so that should be just a straight number. And your parents, if they filed taxes, should know this information. if they don't know this information, you are welcome to reach out to me about any of this financial stuff. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me and I can kind of work with you. So you have to submit your FAFSA in order to apply, or at least we would like you to, if it's possible for you to. Once you submit your FAFSA, you should get an EFC, which is going to be on your student aid report. On the next slide, I have a sample of what that looks like. So we're going to ask you to put that number in the box next to the $sign. So what that FAFSA says. And on the actual website, on the application, you can click that here button and it will also show you a sample of a SAR report and where that EFC is. Now, if you didn't complete a FAFSA for whatever reason, then please explain, upload a file letting me know, and then reach out to me. So if you're waiting for your EFC, so say you've submitted your FAFSA, but you haven't gotten it back yet, I would ask that you hold off on submitting until you get that information. But if it comes to, 2 days before the deadline and you still don't have that, then you can certainly reach out to me and go ahead and submit without that information. And then we do ask for a financial statement as well. And so this is your opportunity to just kind of tell us if there's something else going on in your family that might impact your finances. So for example, there may have been a job loss or a job gain, and something, for 2022 looks very different than what it looked like in 2021, then this is an opportunity for you to enter that. And then I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but in regards to the submission, Legacy does not begin looking at applications until after the application deadline. So there's no need to be hesitant about holding off on applying. As long as you have it in by the deadline of the 1st, you're all set. And so this is the sample EFC. So this is what your student aid report is going to look like. And the highlighted yellow, that EFC, the 7256, that really stands for $7,256. And so that's what you would put in the box that we're asking for. So SAT and ACT scores. So if you're a high school senior, we would like you to include your ACT and SAT scores if you have taken them. And then we also want verification. So this gets a little tricky because I know that sometimes this information is on your transcript. So if you know that it's on your transcript, then you don't have to upload it here. But if it's not located on your transcript, then you would please upload it here. And then we have the extracurricular table. So this is going to be the same for your volunteer activities as well. So it's a table where you just put in the name of the activity, the number of years. We want to know the number of months that you were active in that and how many hours per week. And then also if there's any kind of special recognition that you've gotten, or if there's leadership roles, we would ask that you put them in there. And then on the bottom, there's an open text box. So if you wanted to elaborate on something, or if you had more than 5 activities that you really felt compelled to share, then you could certainly do so there. And then you'll see below that is the current college student activities. So we do things, as I had kind of mentioned, things look a little bit different. So if you're a current college student, this grid isn't going to show up for you. You're going to have just a big essay box, and you can kind of tell us about what you've been participating in college. And this, I don't have an example for the volunteerism, but it's the exact same chart and question. So for employment, you are able to upload a resume instead of having to enter the information separately one at a time. There is no need to do both. The reviewers do not have a preference as to which one you do. So if you have a resume, great. I would say upload the resume, but make sure that you've put in the hours per week, because I know the reviewers really like to see that. But if you don't have an essay, if you don't have a resume, please don't feel like you need to write an essay for this or write a resume. Then you can simply just fill out what you have. Either or is fine. No need to do both. So on to the essays. So there's one mandatory essay that every single person that starts the universal application is going to have to complete. And that's this one about the future career goals. And so once you've submitted your application, then you may be asked the supplemental essays. So most, but not all of the scholarships ask you to complete these additional questions. You might have a bunch of different scholarships that require these. So for example, if you're a high school senior, I think pretty much every single scholarship that you will be eligible for will ask you to answer these. So what's important is that you only have to do it once. So even though every individual scholarship wants this, once you type that information in, once you cut and paste those essays, I always suggest you do them as a Word document or whatever platform you're working on, save them there, copy and paste them into the application. Once you put them in there, they're going to flow through and they're going to self-populate into every single other application that they have, every single kind of individual scholarship. So you don't have to enter it multiple times. You don't have to retype anything. So although it may look daunting, it's really just one group of essays. They just populate, many different times. So transcripts and third-party recommendations. So transcripts. High school seniors, you have to have your school guidance upload your transcript for you. And that was done on per the request of guidance counselors. They said that it was easier for them to upload them than it was for them to get them to students, to have students upload on their own. So that's why we made that change several years ago. Current college students, you can upload your own transcript. For recommendation profiles, so we have what we call a recommendation profile, and it's basically our version of a recommendation letter. And so within the application, you're going to have to enter the information for 2 people, and those 2 people will complete the recommendation profile in support of your application. So within the application, you're going to enter their name and their email. And then you're also going to have to send them an email request through the system. And so I have some language in the system all ready for you that you can cut and paste. And so what's nice is that the requests are due from the third parties on February 15th. So it gives those individuals a lot of time. They have 2 full weeks to complete your requests after the deadline. But as soon as you email them, that request is open. So I always encourage people not to email those out unless you are 100% sure you're going to submit your application. Because every year I see lots of students that, because that's a quick kind of low-hanging fruit, they do that really quickly and then they get those requests out and then they don't end up going the distance and they don't submit their application. And so now these individuals have spent time and energy doing this for you and you don't even end up going through with submitting. So really I encourage people to not send that out to individuals until you are 100% sure that you're going to submit the application. So let the people know that you've sent this request. It may end up in their junk or their spam folder. So it's important to let them know so they can be on the lookout. And it's your responsibility to kind of log back into your application to see if these have been completed. And I'll show you later on, there's a screen that shows you where you can see that. And so, no, we do not accept written letters of recommendation. Every year I get people that, email them to me, things like that. We can't accept them that way. It has to be the recommendation profile through the system. And so this is what it's going to look like when you log in. This is for the high school seniors, and it's similar for the current college students. So I've included sample language that you can email them. And then this is what it looks like for the current college students. And so you can pretty easily just cut and paste that information and then shoot them the email with that request. And this is what the recommendation profile looks like. So it's basically a nice way for the reviewers to kind of compare apples to apples. If you're looking at a recommendation letter, then some people talk about certain things and not other things. And so the reason we do it this way is because it allows us to kind of look at the students, and all of their recommenders are kind of answering the same questions about them. And you are not able to see any part of this. So once you send it out, you won't see it on your application. It's only for those recommenders. So any questions as I'm kind of rolling through any of this?
Nothing has come in.
Okay, perfect. So submitting, so final review. So I would say it's very important to kind of make sure that you can go through your application before you submit it. Once you submit, you are not able to make any changes. So one quick way that you can do that is if you open all the tabs. So you know how I said you can kind of shrink and expand all of your tabs through the whole application. And then if you right click and hit print and then save as a PDF, then you're able to save that on your computer, and then you can print that or just review it online and make sure that everything looks the way that you want it to look. And then also we added something new this year about how you heard about our scholarship program. And again, that helps us just know what works, what doesn't work, how are people finding out about our opportunities. So once you hit submit, you're not done. So although you've completed your universal scholarship application, it's now time for you to look at all of the different opportunities that you are eligible for. And those are the ones where you might need to do a little bit more. So this is what this screen is going to look like. And each of those that say application draft, that means, okay, I need to click in there and see what they've asked of me. And so again, especially if, I don't know if I have a lot of high school seniors on here, a lot of these really just require those general essay questions. And so once you put it into one and you submit, it will self-populate into all the other ones. But you have to remember to go in and still press submit. So just because the application self-populates doesn't mean that the application is submitted for you. So it's important that that status always says application submitted. And so, if you're in the process and you're confused, again, reach out to me. I can proxy as anybody, so I can go in and look at the screen and see it exactly as you're seeing it. So I can kind of poke in there and figure out what's going on if you have questions. And so you'll click on the name of the scholarship to open it. So if I was looking at this, I would go to that John W. Anderson and say, okay, that's my next one. And I would click it open and see what I needed to do. And if it was just the essay and the essay already self-populated, I'd say, great, I'm all done. And I would just press submit. And I would say that 85% of them, that's what it's going to be. So it's very simple. It's not like there's a lot of questions that you still have to get to. It's really just the essays and then, kind of some employee kinds of questions. I don't want you to be afraid that you're going to click one of these and all of a sudden you're going to have another 15 questions to answer. That's not how it works. You're 90% done by the time you get to this part of the process. So say you log out and then you log back in, it might look a little bit different. That's okay. Again, you're going to see the opportunities that are available, and it says edit application. So that's telling me it's not done. So then you would click on that and it would actually take you to the screen that I just showed you. It would kind of take you back to that first submission screen so that you can look at all the different applications. And if you see on this screen, it also shows you your third-party requests. So right now, this is my, my sample application. I've sent out my 3 requests. None have come back because it says 0/3. So if you're a high school student, what you're looking for eventually is 3-3. That means that 3 of your third-party requests have been received because you sent 3 out. If you're a current college student, you're only going to do 2 because you don't need that transcript upload. You just need the recommendation profile. So you're going to look for that 2 too. And so, that's something that you can do after you submit, check back every so often to make sure that those are getting completed. And then if not, maybe reach out to the person to make sure that they've received it. Or, in some instances, the person doesn't respond or isn't willing, then you can certainly reach out to me and we can go ahead and send it to someone different to make sure that you have that in time. And then again, so once you open any of those, at the very bottom, it's going to have that submit application. So that's the button you're going to look for to make sure that all of the applications are submitted. So before I have just a little tiny bit of information, just kind of in general about scholarships. Are there any questions about the application itself before I kind of move on?
Nothing is in the chat at the moment.
Okay. And so I know it is a little bit, I'm hoping that all of you take the time to look at the scholarship booklet, because that will answer a lot of the questions about what our scholarships cover. It would take a long time to go through each one. They're all so very different. We have art scholarships, we have STEM scholarships, we have a humanities scholarship. There are some that are specifically for, say, specific universities. There are some that are for specific majors. There are some for specific high schools. So maybe if you attend this school, then there's scholarships, just for that school. So they really are extremely varied. So take the time to, again, kind of look through that list and make sure that they meet your needs before you go ahead and do all this work. But just some general scholarships tips for you. I would say brag about yourself. I have done this, almost for 7 years now. And I have students that come in particular for some of our scholarships have an interview process associated with them. And, they tell me things that come out in the interview that are not on their application. And so I'm consistently telling students, this is the time to brag about yourself. So honestly, before this scholarship application, any scholarship application, or even your college applications, sit down and really take the time to think about all the things that you've done, what your goals are, what kind of activities you took a part of, what kind of volunteer work, or even things as little as, say you babysit your neighbor's kids for free, say you mow your neighbor's lawn, and that's not considered necessarily volunteer work. I think generally speaking, our reviewers say that we're looking for good humans, we're looking for good people. And so think about how you can incorporate all those things that make you terrific into your application. I would say capitalization and spelling counts. If you don't capitalize anything or you don't take the time to spell check, then it shows the reviewers that you don't really care so much. And we get a lot of applicants. And so, we want to make sure that the students that are receiving these type of awards, that they're invested and that they really care. And so something as little as taking 5 minutes to capitalize things appropriately and spell check really pays off. I would say answer all of the questions completely. If we're asking for, how many months you participated in something and how many hours per week, don't just say how many months, because that little bit of missing information, again, it keys back to okay, is this student taking this scholarship application seriously? So, make sure that you're putting in everything that you can. I would type all of your essays in Word first. I kind of mentioned that before, and then paste it into the online application. Make sure you're answering the correct question. I see that often. Just because you have a really great essay, if it's not answering the question that we've asked, then that's kind of a red flag for the reviewers. Print your application and read it out loud. Sometimes this helps you kind of hear errors that you don't always see. Maybe find a reviewer. So find someone that might be able to look over it for you. They might catch things that you miss. I would give your references, time to complete the forms. Luckily through us, they have 2 full weeks minimally. But if you're applying to other things, I think it's important to, don't come to someone and have, tell them that it's due in 2 days. You'll give people anxiety. So give them lots of time. Also, because the more time you give them, the more likely they're going to take their time and do a really nice job for you. Whereas if you kind of tell them the day before, they might be rushed and they may not give it the amount of effort and time that it takes. Verify, make sure you have uploaded the correct documents. So this is important. I've had students upload the wrong documents before. I had a valedictorian lose out on a scholarship because she uploaded the wrong document. So this is critical, and that's part of that, looking at your application before you submit it, taking the time to look at those uploads and just verifying that it's exactly what it was supposed to be. And then finally, don't wait until the last minute. Once the clock hits 5 o'clock, the application closes. I'm not able to open it back up. So, we all know computers have glitches. Computers need to restart. They have updates, things like that. So, maybe set your timeline for a day or 2 beforehand, just to make sure that you don't run into some kind of glitch like that. And then these are just some essay tips that I have. And again, this is, I'm not gonna read the entire thing, but this is available on the website. It will be on here, but really just making sure that you're reading the instructions, plan in advance, be thinking about what you might want to do. Write in a plain style. So I see this a lot with students. Sometimes you feel like you have to, my mom used to call them 25-cent words. They feel the need to kind of throw in a lot of really big words. And sometimes it actually makes the paper harder to read. That's what the reviewers have told me. Oh, wow, it was really complicated and it was hard to understand what she was saying or what he was saying. So just talk to us. We just want to get to know you. You don't have to impress us with knowing, 5-syllable words. Choose the proper style, format, type. So you can, even within the text box, you can format it. So you can take a moment to make sure that it looks and that it flows nicely. Help us get to know you. So just make it personal. I think that's what's most important is, we're reading a lot of essays from a lot of students. And so the more that you can make it memorable, I think that the better you do with the scoring for essays. And so a lot of that is, using kind of specific statements. I say, don't write education is the key to success. Instead, tell us about how education impacted you. Or, don't just say that you want to be an art teacher, tell them how your love of art came to be. Help us so that when we look at that page, we think, oh, okay, yeah, we know this kid. this student talked about this, that's really is impactful for us. And then finally, find an editor, have people in your world, whether it's teachers, family members, guardians, advisors, or even friends, just kind of read through and make sure that you're not making, kind of glaring errors. And also read it to yourself, because often, I mean, even now I'm reading through my PowerPoint and I see mistakes that I made because I didn't read it out loud to myself before I did it. So I could take my own advice. So reading it out loud really is helpful, helps you know how other people are going to read it and how it flows. And I think that that's really important. And so then before we have the questions part, just in case any of you were wondering kind of how the review process works. So I actually myself, I look at the applications, but I don't score them. I'm kind of an impartial side person, just facilitating the process. But we have about 70 volunteers that work with us each year, and they review all the applications. And as I mentioned, so different scholarships kind of have different scorecards. And so they'll look at the intent of the scholarship, what the donor is wanting, and then they'll review all the scholarships that are eligible, that qualify for it. And then they, will then go ahead and select the recipient. So that's kind of how it works, in case you're curious how the back end side works. And so that's part of what takes so long. I know that it's not, we don't have everything finalized until February 15th, but we often have a number of scholarship applicants. And so between those 70 people, sometimes it takes a couple months for them to look through everything thoroughly and make sure that they, have made the right decision. So that's kind of it for me. Again, I'm honest when I say this. If you have questions, if you have concerns, please reach out to me. Students do it every year. I'm here to answer questions. There's no stupid questions, especially once you get in the weeds. If anything is confusing, I'm here to help. So is there any kind of questions, comments? I guess I can open up the chat box now.
We got 2 questions in the chat right now.
Sure.
Dawn is asking approximately how many total applicants do you get?
We usually get about 500.
And then Micah is asking that they are homeschooled through American School in Lansing. They send me textbooks and exams, and I send them back to be graded. In the current high school Dropbox on the application, what should they put?
So there should be an other at the very bottom, and that should self-populate into an open text box. So I can double check, I can go back in and make sure, but there should be an other available for you so that you can specify. No problem.
And those are the only 2 questions we have right now. If you do have any other questions or comments, please put them in the chat now.
And otherwise, I hope that this was helpful. Again, the slides for this are going to be on our website. I tried to type out most of what I was saying so that, if you want to touch back, you don't have to listen to the whole recording. You can just kind of flip through the slides and find what you're looking for. But again, reach out to me if you need anything. That's what I'm here to do, to kind of help you along in the process.
And then I did just put Jodi's contact information in the chat, her email, and then our office phone number. And then I'm also dropping in the direct link to the page on our website where the PowerPoint will be located, and I will get that on the website tomorrow.
Perfect. After I fix my typos. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate you taking the time with us this evening, and best of luck to you.
One more question.
Are merit-based? I would say they're all merit-based. I mean, there are no scholarships that are specifically merit versus low income or need-based. I would say that all of our scholarships kind of collectively look at merit, community activities, extracurriculars, essays. So all of our kind of scoring, all of the reviewers are really looking comprehensively at each student. So there's not one scholarship where it's like just based on, say, GPA. It's really a compilation of all of those things together. And a lot depends too, is especially when we're looking at income. For example, we have a scholarship that is worth $10,000 a year. So it's a $40,000 scholarship. So in part of what we do is we're looking at what is the family's AGI, how much are they being expected to pay, what other awards have they gotten, because oftentimes we recognize that the FAFSA might say that your family can pay, $20,000 a year, but that's not really realistic for a family. So, I think the reviewers take all of that into consideration. They're looking at the college that you're going to go to and how much it's going to cost. So they really, kind of take their time to look at kind of all the aspects of finance. It's not really a cut and dry kind of decision, if that makes sense. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and please reach out if you've got any further questions. I'm here to help. Thanks.